Leo and Mark were brothers who made their living in one of the world's most dangerous professions, deep-sea salvage. Their latest investment was purchasing the rights to a deep-sea scrapyard, a vast area containing the officially decommissioned, scattered remains of several historical ships. The prize in the lot was the USS Vengeance, a U.S. Navy destroyer sunk in a classified battle during World War II. They expected to recover only scrap steel and bronze, as the ship had been heavily damaged and fully submerged for over 80 years. The initial dives were difficult. The Vengeance lay at over 300 feet, broken in half, covered in massive marine growth and coral. They mapped the wreck meticulously, focusing on the large, accessible sections of the hull for cutting. However, their research into naval archives revealed a recurring, unconfirmed rumor. The Vengeance was not only carrying munitions, it was carrying a special, highly sensitive diplomatic payload destined for an allied nation. This payload, never officially listed on public manifests, was the secret they were hoping to find. They pinpointed the bridge and the captain's quarters as the most likely location for any sensitive cargo. The bridge section was the most heavily damaged, but using specialized remotely operated underwater vehicles, ROVs, and high-intensity lights, they navigated the confined, dangerous wreckage. They finally located the captain's personal safe, a heavy steel box, fused into the deck plating beneath a collapsed sonar console. The safe was a formidable challenge, sealed by both its formidable wartime construction and 8 decades of extreme pressure and marine growth. They knew they couldn't cut the safe free. The risk of disturbing the surrounding unstable wreckage was too high. They decided to open it in situ. They spent 2 days using high-pressure water jets and specialized diamond wire to meticulously clean the combination dial and the hinges. The dial, surprisingly, was still intact. They needed the combination. Hey guys! Quick break, because we need your help to validate this massive World War II secret. We are so close to hitting 5,000 subscribers. We need to hit that goal ASAP. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe. It makes a massive difference. Also, drop a comment below and let us know where in the world you're watching this video from. We love seeing how far our adventures travel. Now, let's get back to the good stuff. Back on the surface, they hired a specialist historical cryptographer. Through archived naval records and Captain Vance's known personal history, they discovered his final, known personal code, the date of his wife's birthday, followed by the date the destroyer was commissioned. The cryptographer provided a 6-digit sequence. They immediately transmitted the combination back to the salvage diver below. The diver, working under crushing pressure, slowly turned the heavy, rusted dial. With a high-pitched metallic groan, the internal mechanism finally released, and the heavy safe door popped open just slightly. The secret was exposed at the bottom of the ocean. The safe door, freed from the combination lock, was carefully pried open by the deep-sea diver. The interior of the safe, miraculously, was not completely flooded. The tight seal of the heavy steel had minimized water ingress over 8 decades, preserving the contents within a slurry of fine sediment. The light shone into the small cavity revealed a wealth that was instantly identifiable. The safe contained 2 items, a large, canvas-wrapped parcel and a small, official-looking diplomatic pouch made of heavy leather. The canvas parcel was opened first. Inside were stacks of high-denomination U.S. gold certificates and a collection of antique, large-format gold coins from the early 20th century. This was the payload the historical rumors spoke of, a massive, untraceable fortune in gold, designated for emergency diplomatic use. The estimated value, factoring in both the gold content and the numismatic rarity of the certificates, was conservatively placed at over $8 million in current market value. The scrap destroyer had become a literal treasure chest. The true secret, however, was in the diplomatic pouch. Inside, the leather had protected a stack of sealed, water-resistant documents. The top document was a set of coded diplomatic bonds, a form of highly secure, untraceable financial guarantee used between allied nations during the war. These bonds were tied to the strategic acquisition of a massive, critical industrial resource, and their loss was a highly classified historical incident. The safe contained the proof and the value of a major, secret wartime transaction. Tucked beneath the bonds was a short, handwritten letter from the captain to his superior officer, dated the day the ship sailed. The letter was the final key. It stated that due to intelligence reports of a planned enemy raid on the convoy, the captain had secretly taken the diplomatic payload off the ship's official manifest and stored it in his personal safe, believing his quarters would be the safest place. When the Vengeance was struck and began to sink rapidly, the captain never had the chance to retrieve the assets, going down with his ship and his secret. The safe was his final, silent report. The brothers, Leo and Mark, understood the gravity of their find. This was not a simple sunken fortune. It was classified wartime diplomatic property. They were in possession of historical assets that belonged to two governments. They carefully recovered the safe's contents, secured them in high-grade recovery casings, and immediately returned to the surface. Their next call was not to an auction house, but to naval intelligence. The scrap destroyer had solved an 80-year-old classified loss. The gold was the fortune, but the bonds were the national secret. The moment Leo and Mark presented the recovered assets, the gold certificates, and the highly classified diplomatic bonds, to naval intelligence, the case escalated to the highest levels of the Department of Defense, DoD, and the State Department. The gold certificates and coins were confirmed to be part of a massive, unrecorded wartime fund, and the diplomatic bonds were identified as a critical, lost component of an agreement with a key allied nation, their loss having been a national secret for decades. The U.S. government and the allied nation immediately began negotiating the recovery and legal ownership of the assets. The brothers, represented by Specialized Historical Asset Council, argued that their salvage rights and the discovery of the captain's personal safe, which was separate from the official, abandoned cargo, entitled them to a substantial finder's fee under both salvage law and federal asset recovery statutes. The discovery of the captain's letter, which absolved him of negligence and confirmed the danger, strengthened the brothers' moral and legal position. The negotiation focused on the true value of the recovery. Not just the current price of the gold, but the immense diplomatic and historical importance of closing an 80-year-old classified incident. The government needed the assets to be recovered under a strict non-disclosure agreement, NDA, to prevent public disclosure of the sensitive wartime mission. The value of the gold and the numismatic certificates alone was placed at over $8 million, but the diplomatic bonds added an unquantifiable value. The final agreement reached was historic. The U.S. government, in full cooperation with the allied nation, agreed to pay Leo and Mark a substantial, multifaceted reward for the recovery and transfer of the entire package. The payment was structured to include a percentage of the recovered monetary assets and a separate, large sum for the successful recovery of the classified bonds. The total final monetary settlement awarded to Leo and Mark for their integrity and skill totaled an astonishing $7.2 million USD. The destroyer they bought for scrap had become the source of a massive fortune. They used the money to transform their salvage operation into a world-class historical recovery and research firm, specializing in classified wreck sites. They were awarded a special commendation by the Navy, acknowledging their integrity. They kept a small, non-monetary artifact from the safe, the captain's worn naval commission, as a reminder of the man who went down with his ship and his secret. They realized their biggest payday didn't come from cutting up steel, but from honoring a captain's final, silent report. Thanks for watching our incredible journey.